Let's get started. I'm Susan Weinstein. I'm co-executive director at Families for Depression Awareness, and I am thrilled that you're able to join us for our program, Providing Support When You Need Support, Caregiving While Depressed. We hear from a lot of people about the challenges of being there for other people when you're under so much pressure yourself. And we wanted to give a chance for you all to hear from some people who have been through that experience and can share their insights with you and see where you can go with your own thinking. Our program today is going to be split between an educational session that is open to the public and then some breakout room time for the people who have joined us on Zoom. So we'll be together on Facebook for about 30 minutes. And then we'll log off of there and we will do our rooms in Zoom. So I hope you're able to join us there. We really want you to be participating, whether it is that you're staying with us for the Zoom or whether you're here for the Facebook part. But do please use the chat, use the comments. We're monitoring both in Zoom and on Facebook. And I would love to have you all involved in the conversation. So we have tons of information we're going to share with you. And I guess I could change the slide now, couldn't I? Maybe. There we are. We're hoping that you'll find tonight to be educational, enlightening, and most of all, inspiring. But we know that talking about depression, talking about the pressures of caregiving, all of that, it can be really hard to hear. It's certainly hard to live a lot of the time. But if you're not feeling like you're in a well place, then please do what you need to do to take care of yourself. If that means that you watch this event at another time, you may, because it's being recorded and it'll be available on Facebook and YouTube. But your self-care is the most important thing. So if this is feeling hard for you tonight or whenever it is you're watching, then please take the time to be good to yourself. And of course, if you have concerns about your own mental wellness, talk to a healthcare provider, talk to your mental health provider, just do get help. So tonight we will talk briefly about Families for Depression Awareness. We'll meet the panelists and I'll throw some questions at them about their experiences. And then again, we'll bid adieu to those of you who are here for the public educational part. And we'll go into our breakout rooms for about 20 minutes to talk about your own experiences. And we have some questions that are some conversation starters. After that, we'll return here into the big room. But whether you're here for education or for the breakout sessions or both, please do take the time to fill out our surveys because what you tell us is really important. You inform our programming and let us know if we're hitting the mark in terms of what will be helpful to you as a caregiver. Families for Depression Awareness. We're a national nonprofit. We've been around since 2001. So last year we had our 20th anniversary. We were founded to dispel stigma around mood disorders and to provide information to family caregivers so that they can provide effective support for their loved ones. We want to help families recognize and cope with depression and bipolar disorder to get people well and prevent suicides. The really core of what we do is that we believe that mood disorders affect the whole family. And we believe that every person in the family, whether they are the one with a diagnosis or not, deserves to have their needs acknowledged and taken care of. Whether that means that you're someone who has a parent who has a mood disorder and you are thus more likely to have a mood disorder yourself, or whether, as a caregiver, you're doing a disproportionate amount of family care and your own work and whatever else, and carrying the emotional weight for the family. So just make sure that you are getting the care that you need and deserve. Our website, take a look at this now, because in the very soon time, which we keep telling ourselves, it's going to look completely different. It's going to be reorganized and going to be even easier for you to find the information that you're looking for. It's been really a challenge because we have so much information. As I said, we've been doing this for 20 years. We've been doing webinars for more than 10 years. I guess we're up to 12 now. So it's not like it's something new for us. And we've been building out a library of various topics so that they are there at your convenience. So check in with us, maybe in a month or so, and hopefully you'll see something very different and have a great experience. One of the things that we really love about our website is that we have these free online tests. The two that I'll highlight are that we have this free depression and bipolar test. It's validated for ages 18 and older. It's just, several questions, and then it spits out whether you are, more likely than not experiencing depression, but it's the kind of thing that you can print out your results and take it to your primary care provider or your mental health provider. We also have a caregiver stress test, which I bet you don't need a test to know that you're stressed, but what it does is it sort of gives you a measurement of what level of stress you're at. Again, it's on a validated test, but we point you to some resources that we hope will be helpful. And also, if your stress is very high, then it might be time for you to get some support. What else we got here? We have publications. Love the work that we've been doing in the past few years. We've been taking all of our publications and updating them. The bipolar disorder, depression, and preventing suicides, all of them combine really useful information with some personal stories so that you can get those insights from people of their own experiences, maybe find something you can relate to, something that speaks to you. Our Helping Someone Living with Depression or Bipolar Disorder handbook is awesome. It was supposed to be like 20 something pages and it's 60, but it's all good reading and it's very reader friendly. So all that's good. So now let's go on over and meet the panel. Let me just say though, off the top of my head, we are so grateful to have these amazing people with us tonight. All of them have their own experiences and they are incredibly generous in sharing that with you. I think they all have a deep commitment to taking the stigma away from depression and bipolar disorder. It's because of people like that we're able to have a lot more conversations than we would otherwise. Families for Depression Awareness was basically founded on storytelling, and I'm so grateful that the three of you are here to help us continue that tradition. So let me just call on each of you and let you just give a couple of sentences on who you are. Dee Dee, why don't we start with you?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Dee Dee Hairston, and AKA Diva with Depression, which is also the name of my platform. I live with severe treatment-resistant depression, and I am a child of depression and a mom of depression. So thank you again for having me tonight.
Thank you so much. Should we call you Diva or Dee Dee?
Oh, Dee Dee is fine.
Tag?
Hi, I'm Tag Frothingham. I have lived with depression most of my life, pretty severe at times. And my teenager has it pretty severely also. It's been a journey, to say the least.
Understood. And Terry?
Hi there, Terry McGuire. I also live with depression. I come from a family with some mental health challenges, and I have a family with some mental health challenges. I'm currently working in partnership with the A.B. Corker Foundation for Mental Health as the producer of the podcast, Giving Voice to Depression. So I've been interviewing. And so as I make comments tonight, it's not just my experience, but I've interviewed hundreds of people with depression. So I may say, this woman told me, or this person told me, or I heard that. So I can, if I can remember them, call on some of the stories that I've heard from them as well, because Susan, as you said, telling stories and making all of this really real, because it is really real, just makes it so much more relatable and understandable than tossing out some statistic.
I agree. People can look up statistics, but for them to be able to, hear from someone who's been there, it makes a huge difference. I'm trying to decide if I'm supposed to stop screen sharing, but I guess I'll find out. So let's just kick it off here. Terry,
Yes.
how does living with your mental health condition affect your ability to be a caregiver? Like, what are the biggest challenges for you?
Well, the first question, how does it affect it? I think in both ways. I think in positive and in negative ways. I think that because I live with a condition and because I have done such a deep dive into it, that I can be more empathetic, I'm much more understanding and much less likely to say, like, turn that frown upside down, or what do you have to be sad about, or any of the nonsense that people who don't understand might rely on. I think because I understand the thoughts that depression can play incessantly in our heads, that I can sort of next level that conversation and not say, like, hey, if you ever have dark thoughts, I can say, are you thinking that you're a burden? Are you thinking that no one loves you? Are you thinking that you don't matter? Those are ways that having my own lived experience helps me be a better caregiver. And then the ways it doesn't is that when I'm really in it, or when I'm just exhausted from fighting it off, it's hard. It's hard to be caring, and it's hard to it's hard to be present, right? Because you're just fighting your own stuff and wanting to crawl into bed, and you know that you cannot encourage someone else to not isolate from your bed. So that would be sort of the pros and cons. Not that I think there are a whole lot of pros to my depression, but it certainly does make me understand the illness, or the condition better.
Dee Dee, your thoughts?
Twofold. I mentioned that I was a child of depression, so I grew up in a household with a parent who had mental illness, and so I had to grow up very fast. And so I think that part of it contributed to where I'm at today, as far as my mental illness, some trauma and some depression lingering. I'm also the mom of depression. My girls started experiencing mental illness when they were in their teens, which was a little bit after I had my first breakdown. And so the challenge is that everyone knows that just the medications alone that you have to take for these mental illnesses can be brutal. It makes it hard to function, and it makes it hard to be present, like Terry mentioned. And so that was one of my major challenges, how I would be able to do what I needed to do to stay semi-healthy and also take care of my children. And so, that part is difficult. It's also difficult. I call it depression brain, when you hard to gather your thoughts. So, then it comes into how do you help with homework? How do you help with remembering appointments? How do you help with, being at the different places that you need to be? How do you function? How are you there for your children in the way as a parent supposed to be? And that to me, and it is the most challenging, because I want to be the greatest parent that I can be. I don't want them to think that they're less than, or they're not appreciated. And my girls are I won't say their ages because they'll yell at me, but they're over 20 now, but it never ends. It never ends. They still struggle with their mental illnesses. So I still have to be present with them. And so there are days when, my monster is flaring. and I have to tame it down, to listen to them. And it really is hard to tune out your voices to listen to their voices. And I always tell people there's nothing wrong with that. Find a way to quiet your noise in order to be there for the people that you're taking care of, because all they want is your love and your attention. They're not expecting, Dr. Phil. They just want their loved one there for them. And that's how I try to be present for everyone.
Well, I have to say that I believe, just from talking to you and reading what you do, that you are there in the best way that you can be.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And so we all want to be the best parent that we can, and we do.
Yeah.
Tag. What else can you throw in here?
Wow, that covers a lot of ground already, and it's not a terribly different story for me, even really. I think the nuances on maybe how I handle it or work with my kids might be a little bit different. But it is a long and very painful journey. And there are times where I had to remove myself from situations just because I was spent emotionally, just for where I was emotionally and all that. And, my child needed more, and I just didn't have it. I'm very lucky to have a partner who we are able to trade back and forth relatively smoothly. So that's a big win for us, but it's still incredibly difficult. But sort of, it's kind of, we love our children. What other choices do we really have, right?
Yep.
So Tag, how is it that when you need to be focusing more inward on your own self-care and wellness? What are the signs for you?
I'm still discovering that. They're not easy signs to identify. Usually when I'm starting to sort of cycle downwards into deep depression, I have no idea. None. I don't recognize that I'm sleeping more. I don't, recognize that my fuse is shorter or that I've removed myself from things. Other people tend to point it out. Family, my partner, friends that I've been close with. And that's how I've sort of been able to tell. I'm working on learning to see earlier red flags so that I can adapt and seek help sooner in hopes of not going as deep as I have.
Yeah, for me, my experience is just that I don't want to acknowledge that it's depression again. I just really do not want to go there. And it doesn't make it any better to just try and say, no, it isn't. No, it isn't.
I accepted this a long time ago. So, it's very different from when I was like a teenager, right? Where it was just like, oh God, why does this ever end? Now it's just sort of like, all right, here we go again.
Yeah.
And the steps are painfully familiar. I hope to learn every single time a little bit more so I can come out of it better. Some successes, a whole lot of failures. So it's just,
as you said, if we can build on, what we have learned. Terry, how about you? What are your signs?
You're going to realize that I was trained as a journalist because I always do this and this. So my own signs, very similar to Tag. For me, it's like exhaustion and impatience and stuff. But there's also that other side of when do I know I need to step back because of how I'm interacting with the other person who needs my care. And I kid that when I no longer have a tip of my tongue because I've been biting it so much, it's like I actually need to leave. I need to step back and, if I'm sharing a home with the person, get to my room because I'm going to say something. And particularly if the person has OCD in their mix, you can say all the right things through the hardest of circumstances. And if just once, just once you say like, hey, this isn't easy for me either. And they hear that which really is a very tame thing to say when you're near the end of your rope. And they just hear, I'm causing a problem. I'm making my mother unhappy. I'm making my wife whoever, my partner unhappy. That you end up having to pay for on the back end as well, and work harder to bring them back and say what you meant. And so there's so many ways to look at it. For me, it's just, I'm really bad at it. I've got to be honest. When I heard you ask that question, I was so glad you asked Tag. I should have known I was next. My go-to answer is like when I think I'm going to implode, and I should know to do something way before then. And I know all the things to do. Again, I interview people every week about what they do, and I know all of the things. That list is long, right, of things you can do for yourself, but I tend to just keep pushing, and that does not serve me well, and it probably does not serve the people I'm trying to be present for and caring toward, as well as other strategies could. So if anybody watching thought they were going to hear experts say, here's how you do it, I am not that person. Yes.
Yeah, but I think what you're telling them is that it's really, it's real. The challenge is real for us to be doing the things that we, intellectually know we should be doing. And, we preach at other people to do it. But I think, we try and take steps,
Yes.
How about you, Dee Dee?
The funny answer is I know that I'm slipping when I'm looking for Intimate donuts on sale and heading to Krispy Kreme and getting McDonald's Coke more than twice a day. That's the funny answer. The serious side of it is like Terry and Tag said, I suck at it. Since starting my platform, I've gotten better at verbalizing where I'm at, different stages, and people that understand. Like I can say to my friends, the monster's acting up today. I can't talk. Self-care, I'm horrible at self-care, but that's how I was raised. I was raised as a caregiver. And so taking care of myself is always on the bottom rung. So, one example that I give is that I don't have the best relationship with my mother. And, but I was, doing what I was supposed to do as a daughter for her. But then I started to realize how angry I was because of unresolved issues and not setting boundaries. And she can take advantage of those, sometimes. So I had to distance myself. And so, that's a good thing to set boundaries, but then you have to live with the guilt of not being the good daughter, not doing what, the Bible says, honor your mom and your dad and stuff like that. When it comes to my children, because I know how it feels, I try not to ever turn myself off from them. And so we're so close that the three of us know the code words. I'm not talkative today. I'm not feeling well today. I'm just checking in to make sure that you're okay. Just checking in to say I love you. And that's it. And so that is sort of our way to live with our signs and set boundaries. But as far as recognizing the signs, treatment-resistant depression is like it's another animal all to itself. It has its own planet. And so, like Tag said, this is it every single day. There's no highs and lows. There's a low and then maybe a little unlow. So my sign is, like I said, the donuts, not getting out of bed, not being able to get out of bed, and just not being able to cook or not being able to talk. And so when I see those things coming on, I know that I have to, put up the white flag or the red flag in this case and say, I'm just not doing well, but I'll be okay. And that's okay. That's just the way it has to be, unfortunately.
I interviewed someone who used the phrase, the impossible task.
It
And
is.
it's that idea that something that you've done, you know, we've all done. We get up, we shower, we do the dishes, we make our bed, we get our kids to school, we cook, whatever. And all of a sudden that thing or all of those things become impossible. And
Yeah.
that's just like, oh, I'm there. When I describe it as when my environment looks like my brain feels,
Right.
then I go, okay, it's literally everywhere, and you can't ignore that. I mean, you can, because you do sometimes. You just crawl back in bed, but it's pretty clear to anybody who is looking.
And I always share that, yeah, I tell people, and I've written about this and talked about this on my podcast, people that are not in our circle, so to speak, have no idea how heavy a sock is. You have no idea how heavy a sock is. Picking up that sock will cause you to be in bed for the rest of the day, you know? And so I use that often to let people know that, you know, my baby, she taught me the spoons, you know, how many spoons you have for the day. She taught me that. And so, you know, you just have to sort of give into it, you know, or else you'll spiral if you don't give into it.
So we just have a few minutes left. Do you guys, can you each share a tip for other caregivers who are, you know, trying to support others while they're dealing with their own mental health issues? Who would like to go first?
Oh,
Dee Dee,
you
do
know
you
you're
have some?
supposed to go. You go. If you've got anything, Dee Dee, you go.
Honesty. I think honesty is, you know, the best policy. I know it sounds cliche, but it is. And it doesn't have to be textbook. It doesn't have to be, you know, a Freudian, you know, tip or whatever. Just be honest. And that's on both sides. You know, if you wake up as a caregiver and you can't give your all, then you let the person that you're taking care of know that you can't give your all. And then you both know how to help each other through the day, because it really does work, you know, and that goes for children, it goes for your parent, it goes for whoever you're taking care of. Just be honest and let each other know where you're at, how many spoons you have, and how you're going to help each other make it till the next morning.
And it can be really scary to go out on that limb. But,
Very.
you know, that's what relationships are for, right? Terry?
Dee Dee's comment reminds me, I interviewed a woman who said that she has shouted from her bed, you know, baby, I know you're struggling today, but I don't have it. I don't have anything to give you, but I care. I love you. You know, if I did, I would. Yeah, I mean, the classic, you know, the earlier you notice the slide, if you're lucky enough to have a slide and not always be there, you know, the better chance you have. But that's hard too. But I do try, I really, really try to notice my early warning signs and to say like, oh, you know, before I'm in the pit so deeply that I can't really get out without a lot more work than I would like to have to put in. You know, when I start just having those thoughts, you know, absolute thoughts, you know, I'm never gonna, everybody else, nobody else, you know, I'm always gonna, those kind of things. That alone can be enough of a hint that I go, oh, I don't always think like that. This isn't healthy, and to do something.
Tag, how about you?
You know, taking care of yourself. I mean, you've heard that over and over again from, you know, Dee Dee and Terry and you, Susan, is huge. I try to find time every day just for me, and it can be just a few minutes. And it's about me checking in with myself, right? It's you know, not maybe something that I love to do that helps distract. It is literally me sort of doing the honesty part, like Dee Dee mentioned, for myself, and saying, this is where I am, and how do I deal with this moment? And that's all that's important when it's really bad. You know, right now I'm doing pretty well. I still do this every day. It's like habit for me now, and it's one of the I think you know, one of a few things that helps me to sort of keep on going. You know, because it's it's a long road, and you know, it is sort of like what life is for me. You know, I've accepted that. So
Well, you all do an amazing job for other people, and I am, glad to hear that you try to find ways to do an amazing job for yourselves too. You all do such a service to our communities in terms of getting out there and sharing your experiences and your inspirations. Um, uh, I am going to go back to sharing slides, I think. So I think your faces will still be there. We'll find out, right?
We'll find out.
You would think, what are we, 2.5 years into this thing? Still don't know how to work it. All right, look at that. Okay, so before I let you all go and close this part of the program, let me just say thank you to those of you who joined us for the live portion. For the educational portion, we really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us. We are grateful to our sponsors, Takeda, Sage Therapeutics, and the Massachusetts Department of Public Health Suicide Prevention Program. They help us to be able to do programs like this, and we are grateful. All right, so Terry, Tag, and Dee Dee, so many thanks to you. I hope you're able to stick around for the breakout sessions, and I'm gonna transition us over. So what do we have here?
Thank you, Susan.
thank you.
Thank you. All right. Please, if you are leaving us now, fill out the survey. I'm hoping that you'll get a link from our staff in the chat. We really value your feedback. You help us plan our future programs. We want to know what it is that you want to hear. And if you fill out a survey, we'll be happy to send you our Adult Depression Stories of Families in Hope brochure. Again, it's one of those things that's got the educational information as well as some stories, and we pride ourselves on giving good strategies and actionable advice. So tell us what you think and we'll share this with you. Also, if this session is helpful to you, hope that you'll share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues. And as I mentioned earlier, they'll be able to watch this recording at their convenience on Facebook and YouTube.